The moment I opened my eyes, the hero of the novel was already pretending to collapse in front of everyone. His hand clutched his chest, his face turned pale, his body tilted perfectly into the arms of the prettiest girl in the banquet hall. And lucky me, I was standing 3 steps away, holding the wine glass everyone thought had poisoned him. I stared at the glass in my hand and felt my soul almost leave my body for the second time that day. Out of all the characters I could have become, I had transmigrated into Leo Mondor, the famous cannon fodder rich boy from the novel The Hero's Perfect Empire. Leo Mondor was rich, arrogant, jealous, and unbelievably stupid. In the original story, he bullied the male lead, chased the female lead, offended the villainess, embarrassed his family, and eventually died alone in a warehouse fire after being abandoned by everyone. In other words, he was not a character. He was a walking warning sign. And now I was him. Even better, I had arrived during the Blackwell charity banquet, the first major scene where the male lead, Lucas Cole, began stepping on powerful people to climb toward the top. In the original plot, Lucas used a fake poisoning incident to frame the villainess, Amelia Blackwell. After everyone suspected her, he would act kind and forgiving in public, making himself look like a gentle angel while quietly pushing Amelia's reputation into the mud. Leo Mondor, being the original professional idiot, was supposed to jump out and accuse Amelia right away. Then Amelia would slap him. The Mondor family would lose face. Lucas would gain sympathy, and the story would continue rolling forward. Unfortunately for the plot, the actor had changed. I looked at Lucas, who was leaning weakly against Emma Lane, the sweet campus beauty and the first woman he was supposed to win over. Emma held him anxiously. "Lucas, hold on. Someone call a doctor." The guests panicked and several rich girls covered their mouths, and the reporters lifted up their cameras. Across the hall, Amelia Blackwell stood beside the dining table in a black evening dress. Her expression was calm, but not soft. She looked like a queen watching a group of children make a mess in her palace. The novel called her a villainess, but seeing her in person, I had one honest thought. One raised eyebrow from her probably had more killing power than a kitchen knife. Her gaze swept over the room before landing on me. I froze for a second. Why was she looking at me? Lucas coughed softly and lifted one trembling hand. His voice came out weak, gentle, and perfectly pitiful. "Don't blame anyone. Maybe Miss Blackwell didn't mean to." The room fell silent. I almost laughed. This guy had not even finished pretending to die, yet he had already managed to frame someone. Emma's eyes widened. "Miss Blackwell? Lucas, are you saying Amelia poisoned you?" Lucas quickly shook his head, looking even more noble and injured. "No, Emma, don't say that. I believe Miss Blackwell would never do something so cruel." That was the clever part. He never directly accused her. He only guided everyone's eyes toward her, then pretended he was too kind to blame her. Within seconds, the whispers started. Did Amelia really do it? I heard Lucas rejected her invitation last week. She has always been proud. Maybe she was angry. Amelia did not defend herself. Her fingers rested lightly on her wine glass, and her face remained unreadable. The pressure in my throat suddenly tightened. It felt like the original plot was trying to push words out of my mouth. I knew what Leo Mondor was supposed to say. He was supposed to point at Amelia and shout, "You vicious woman! How dare you hurt Lucas?" I took a slow breath, raised the glass in my hand, and said instead, "This is very interesting." Everyone turned to me. Emma frowned. "Leo, what do you mean?" I smiled at Lucas. "I just think Lucas is amazing." Lucas's weak expression stiffened for half a second. I continued. He took one sip, got dizzy, and somehow immediately knew Miss Blackwell was involved. That reaction speed is impressive. The hall went quiet. Emma looked annoyed. "Leo, now isn't the time for sarcasm." "I'm not being sarcastic," I said, walking toward Lucas slowly. "I'm just asking a normal question. Lucas, you drank from your own glass, right?" Lucas nodded weakly. "Yes." "And the drink came from a waiter?" "Yes." Lucas replied. "And Miss Blackwell never touched your glass?" His face changed slightly, so fast most people would have missed it. I did not miss it. I turned toward the crowd. "So, Miss Blackwell did not pour the wine, did not hold the glass, did not hand it to him, and did not stand near him, but somehow he calls her name before the doctor?" I clicked my tongue. "That's not poisoning, that's teleportation." A few people almost laughed, then quickly held it in. Emma bit her lip. "Leo, Lucas is sick. How can you joke right now?" I looked at her and almost felt sorry for her. In the original novel, Emma Lane was sweet, kind, and rich. Her family owned half the private hospitals in the city, and Lucas used her connections to fake medical reports and clean up his scandals. Later, when her family got into trouble, he left her behind and moved on to a stronger woman. She thought he was sunlight. He was actually a bug lamp with good hair. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Amelia looking at me again. Her face was still cold, but something in her eyes had changed. I suddenly remembered a hidden detail from the novel. Amelia Blackwell had a strange ability. After a fate shift, she could hear one person's inner thoughts if she made eye contact with them. At the time, I thought it was a useless bonus detail. The original Leo died too early, so the author barely used it. But now, Amelia was staring directly at me. My heart gave a hard thump. No way. I looked at her and thought, if you can hear me, blink twice. Amelia blinked once. Then she blinked again. My smile vanished into thin air. Oh, I was cooked. Deep-fried even. The villainess could hear my thoughts, including the one where I compared her eyebrow to a kitchen knife. Amelia's eyebrow rose again. I immediately looked away. I will pretend nothing happened and stay calm, and not think about how cute she is. Amelia's eyebrow rose slightly once more. Wonderful. She heard that too. Before I could mentally dig a hole and bury myself, a middle-aged man in a white suit hurried forward with a medical kit. I recognized him instantly. Dr. Hale, Lucas's hired doctor. In the original plot, Dr. Hale would test the wine and declare that it contained a rare nerve poison. The fake evidence would point toward the Blackwell family's pharmaceutical branch, and Amelia would be forced to explain herself in front of half the city. Dr. Hale knelt beside Lucas and opened his kit. I watched his fingers carefully. There it was. Under a folded cotton pad, he had hidden a tiny silver packet. That packet contained a special powder that would turn the wine purple and fake a poison reaction. I sighed in my head. This trick is so cheap. Even a school magic club would be embarrassed. Amelia's gaze moved toward Dr. Hale's hand. She had heard me. Her expression did not change much, but her eyes sharpened. Dr. Hale reached for the cotton pad. I raised my hand. Wait, he frowned. Young Master Mondor, this is a medical emergency. Exactly, I said. So we should be careful. Dr. Hale looked irritated. Are you questioning my skill? No, I'm questioning your timing. The guests went quiet again. Dr. Hale's face darkened. What are you implying? I pointed toward the entrance. Lucas collapsed less than 2 minutes ago. You were already standing near the hall with a full emergency kit. That is very prepared. I was invited as a guest, he said coldly. With a poison testing kit, his mouth closed silently. A small wave of whispers moved through the crowd. Emma looked between us, confused and nervous. Leo, what are you doing? I'm helping, I said. If Lucas was truly poisoned, we should call the hospital, seal the scene, leave every glass untouched, and check the cameras. That is the cleanest way to protect him. Lucas's weak face became even paler. This time, it was not acting. He forced himself to speak. Leo, there's no need to make such a big scene. I don't want Miss Blackwell's reputation to suffer because of a misunderstanding. I had to admit, Lucas was good. Every sentence sounded kind, but every word was a hook. If Amelia investigated, she would look guilty. If she refused to investigate, she would also look guilty. If Lucas forgave her, he would look pure and noble. No wonder half the novel's cast lost their brains around him. Amelia lifted her hand. The Blackwell bodyguards moved instantly. The exits closed, the waiters were stopped, and the reporters were blocked from rushing forward. Her voice was calm. Since young Master Mondor wants the truth, we will check. The way she said my name made my back feel cold. She was not angry. That made it worse. Dr. Hale tried to step away, but one of the bodyguards blocked him. Amelia looked at the kit. Doctor, place everything on the table. Dr. Hale forced a stiff laugh. Miss Blackwell, this is unnecessary. Amelia did not raise her voice. Now, one word was enough. Dr. Hale swallowed and placed the kit down. A bodyguard opened it carefully. Inside were needles, cotton, bandages, small bottles, and the silver packet hidden under the folded cotton pad. The bodyguard picked it up. Dr. Hale's face went white. Emma whispered, "What is that?" I looked at Dr. Hale. "Since it is from your kit, you should know." Dr. Hale quickly said, "That is normal testing powder." "Great," I said. "Then test it." His face froze. Amelia's people brought over a clean glass of water. The bodyguard poured a little powder into it. The water turned purple. The banquet hall erupted. That's the poison reaction. So the powder creates the result? Was he going to fake the test? Dr. Hale staggered back while Lucas's expression finally cracked. Emma released Lucas's arm and stared at him. "Lucas, did you know about this?" Lucas immediately grabbed her wrist. "Emma, no, I don't know anything. I'm also a victim." Of course he was. When exposed, act even weaker. I clapped once. Everyone looked at me. "Lucas, your recovery is impressive. 2 minutes ago, you could barely breathe. Now you can defend yourself clearly. Medical science is amazing." Several guests laughed. Lucas's gentle mask tightened at the edges. Amelia walked toward him. Her heels tapped softly against the marble floor, and each step made the room quieter. She stopped in front of him. "Mr. Cole, you accused me." Lucas shook his head quickly. "No, Miss Blackwell. I never accused you. I only said there might be a misunderstanding." Amelia gave a faint smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Then we will remove the misunderstanding." She turned to the nearest waiter. "Bring the surveillance footage." The waiter hesitated. It was only for a second, but everyone saw it. Amelia's gaze sharpened. "Speak." The waiter lowered his head. "Miss Blackwell, the cameras near the wine table had a short malfunction." There it was. The backup plan. In the original story, the cameras failed too. Every time a villain needed to frame someone, the cameras suddenly became decorative wall ornaments. Lucas spoke gently. "Miss Blackwell, maybe we should stop here. No one was badly hurt. I don't want this banquet to become ugly." The old trick again. Pretend to forgive everyone so suspicion remains but proof disappears. I raised my hand. "Actually, we don't need that camera." Lucas slowly looked at me. This time, there was no warmth in his eyes. I smiled. "Lucas, may I see your left cuff?" Emma looked down at his sleeve. Lucas pulled his hand back slightly. "What are you talking about?" "The left cuff," I said. "The one you used to hold your glass before you collapsed." Dr. Hale shouted, "This is nonsense." Amelia's bodyguard stepped forward and grabbed Lucas's wrist. Lucas tried to resist, but since he was supposed to be weak from poison, he could not fight too hard without ruining his own performance. The bodyguard lifted his sleeve. A faint purple stain marked the inside of his cuff, the same purple as the fake test powder. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then the whispers returned like a storm. He had the powder on him, so he faked it. He was trying to frame Miss Blackwell. Emma stepped away from Lucas, her face pale. "Lucas, tell me the truth." Lucas's eyes reddened instantly. "Emma, someone must have put it there. You know me. I would never do something like this." I looked at him with honest admiration. His ability to cry on command was terrifying. If business failed, he could always become an actor. Amelia's voice cut through the noise. "Mr. Cole, from this moment on, the Blackwell family will file a formal complaint for defamation, fraud, and attempted reputation damage." Lucas's pupils shrank and Dr. Hale nearly collapsed into a chair. The waiter trembled so badly, he looked like he might confess just to stay alive. The reporters were blocked by bodyguards, but their eyes were shining. A fake poisoning at a Blackwell banquet was already big news. A fake poisoning staged by the city's beloved scholarship student was even better. I finally allowed myself to breathe. The first plot point had been broken. Amelia was not framed. Lucas did not gain sympathy. Emma was shaken. Dr. Hale was exposed. And most importantly, I had not followed the original Leo Mondor's stupid path. For a first day inside a death novel, I had done pretty well. Then Amelia turned and looked directly at me. My relief vanished. The villainess knew I knew too much. She walked toward me slowly, her expression unreadable. I tried to keep my face calm, but my thoughts were already running wild. Do not think about the plot. Do not think about her future. Do not think about how her uncle betrays her, how Blackwell Group falls, how Lucas locks her in a mental hospital, and how she dies on the 28th floor in chapter 411. Amelia stopped walking. For the first time all night, her calm mask showed a crack. Her fingers tightened at her side. I stared at her, and she stared back. The banquet hall behind us was still full of noise, but between us, everything became strangely quiet. She had heard it. She had heard all of it. Amelia stepped closer and said softly, "Young Master Mondor, may I speak with you alone?" Could I refuse? Technically, yes. Would that be smart? Absolutely not. I nodded. Of course. She turned and walked toward the side corridor. I followed her past the bodyguards, past the reporters, and past Lucas, who was still trying to explain himself to Emma. As I passed him, Lucas looked up. For a second, his gentle expression disappeared completely. The look in his eyes was cold, hateful, and sharp. There he was, the real hero, the one hiding behind all those soft smiles. Amelia led me into a quiet lounge and closed the door behind us. The click of the lock sounded very final. She turned around under the warm golden light. Her face was beautiful, but her eyes were dangerous. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "Leo Mondor." I swallowed. Yes? Her voice stayed calm, but every word felt like it had a blade hidden inside. Why did you call this world a novel? My heart stopped while she took one step closer. And why did you think I would die in chapter 411? She had asked the worst possible question. Why did I call this world a novel? And why did I know she would die in chapter 411? There were many possible answers. I could lie. I could pretend she misheard me. I could say I was nervous and talking nonsense. I could claim chapter 411 was an inside joke from a webcomic club. Unfortunately, Amelia could hear my thoughts, which made lying about as useful as hiding behind a glass door. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Right, she heard that too. I took a slow breath. Miss Blackwell, before I explain, can you promise not to call your bodyguards in here? No, she said with a firm voice. At least she was honest. I forced a smile. Fair enough. Amelia walked to the sofa and sat down, crossing one leg over the other with perfect grace. She did not look like a girl who had almost been framed 10 minutes ago. She looked like a judge waiting for the criminal to confess. Speak, she said calmly. That single word carried more pressure than my old boss during tax season. I rubbed my forehead. This is going to sound insane. I just heard your thoughts describe my future death in detail. We are far past normal. She had a point. I looked toward the closed door. Outside, the banquet was still chaotic. Lucas was probably still pretending to be misunderstood. Emma was probably crying. Dr. Hale was probably sweating through his expensive suit. Meanwhile, I was trapped in a lounge with a villainess who could hear my brain leaking state secrets. What a healthy social life. I sat across from her and lowered my voice. This world is very similar to a book I read before I woke up here. In that book, Lucas Cole is the male lead. Everyone loves him. Every woman with power eventually helps him. Every enemy who stands against him gets ruined. Amelia's fingers rested lightly on the armrest, and I am one of those enemies. In the story, yes. Her expression did not change, but I could feel the air sharpen. I quickly added, but the story is biased. It calls you evil because you refuse to be used by him. It makes him look kind even when he destroys people. For the first time, something in her gaze softened by a tiny amount. Continue, she said. I nodded. Tonight was supposed to be the first step. Lucas frames you with the fake poison, then forgives you in public. The guests think he is generous. You look cruel and suspicious. Later, when your family's pharmaceutical branch has issues, people connect it to tonight and start doubting Blackwell Group. Amelia's face grew colder. Our pharmaceutical branch is preparing to list overseas next month. I know, I said, her eyes lifted. I immediately regretted speaking so quickly. She leaned forward. How much do you know? Let's just say too much. Her gaze became dangerous. I coughed. A useful amount. Leo. Mondor. The way she said my name made me sit up straighter. Almost everything until the middle of the plot. I know Lucas's schemes, his future allies, the women he plans to use, and the families he will swallow one by one. Amelia said nothing for a long moment. Then she asked, "And your role?" I smiled bitterly. "I am cannon fodder." She tilted her head slightly. "It means disposable trash with a name," I explained. Leo Mondor is supposed to be arrogant and stupid. He keeps picking fights with Lucas, loses every time, drags down the Mondor family, and dies before the main story even gets serious. Amelia looked at me for several seconds, then said, "That explains your sudden improvement." I blinked. Improvement? The Leo Mondor I knew would have shouted first and thought never. That was rude. Accurate, but rude. I decided not to argue because, technically, she was insulting the previous owner of this body, not me. Also, I like living. Amelia leaned back. "So you helped me tonight to save yourself?" "Yes," I said softly. Her eyes sharpened. I added honestly, "and because Lucas annoys me." That earned the faintest curve at the corner of her lips. It disappeared almost immediately, but I saw it. I also thought, without permission from my survival instincts, that she looked much less terrifying when she almost smiled. Amelia's gaze lifted slowly. I wanted to throw my brain out the window. She said calmly, "You should work on controlling your thoughts." "I am trying." "You are failing." "Yeah, I'm beginning to notice that too," I said. Before she could continue roasting me, voices sounded outside the lounge. "Miss Blackwell, young Master Mondor, the police have arrived," a bodyguard said from the doorway. Amelia stood. "Bring Dr. Hale, the waiter, and Lucas Cole to the side hall. Keep the reporters outside for now." "Yes, Miss Blackwell." I also stood, but she looked at me. "You are coming with me." I had a feeling. Then she quickly said, "As my witness." "Wonderful. I woke up in this world 10 minutes ago, and I already have a legal career." Amelia gave me a brief glance. "Your mouth is calmer than your mind. Years of customer service." She did not understand the joke, but that was probably for the best. When we stepped back into the hall, the atmosphere had completely changed. The banquet was no longer an elegant charity event. It had become a battlefield covered in champagne glasses and nervous rich people. Lucas stood near the center of the room with Emma beside him. His face was pale, but he was no longer pretending to be weak. He was speaking gently to the police officer, explaining that everything was a misunderstanding and that he had no intention of causing trouble for the Blackwell family. He really loved the word misunderstanding. If a meteor fell on his house, he would probably call it a weather misunderstanding. Amelia's eyes flicked toward me. I immediately stared at the floor. Lucas saw us approach, and his expression shifted into wounded kindness. "Miss Blackwell," he said softly, "I'm glad you returned. I already told the officer I don't want to pursue this. Dr. Hale may have made a mistake, but I believe no one meant any harm." Emma looked at him with complicated eyes. She wanted to believe him, but the purple powder on his cuff was not exactly easy to explain. Amelia stopped in front of Lucas. You do not get to decide whether I pursue this. Lucas's smile stiffened. Miss Blackwell, I'm only trying to protect your reputation. My reputation was safer before you opened your mouth. A few guests gasped softly. I almost clapped but held back because this was not the time to look excited. The lead police officer, Captain Ross, cleared his throat. Miss Blackwell, we have collected the powder and the glass. We will need statements from everyone involved. Amelia nodded. Of course. My legal team is already on the way. The words legal team made Dr. Hale tremble. Lucas quickly said, Captain, I really think this has been blown out of proportion. I felt dizzy after drinking and Dr. Hale only wanted to help. Maybe the powder stained my sleeve when he checked me. Not a terrible excuse. Sadly for him, reality had already started biting. Captain Ross looked at him. Then we will check the fingerprints on the packet. Lucas's face changed. Only for a moment, but enough. I noticed. Amelia noticed. Captain Ross probably noticed too, which meant he was not completely useless. Good for him. Emma noticed as well. Her lips parted slightly. Lucas, why do you look scared? Lucas turned to her at once. Emma, I'm not scared. I'm worried this will hurt innocent people. I could not help myself. You are very considerate for someone whose fingerprints may or may not be on fake poison powder. Lucas looked at me with pain in his eyes. Leo, why are you targeting me? We may have had disagreements before, but I never thought you hated me this much. The crowd stirred. There it was again, the victim card. He was trying to drag me into an old personal conflict. If people thought I hated him, then my words would look like jealousy instead of logic. In the original novel, this always worked because Leo Mondor really was jealous and loud. But I was not the original Leo. I smiled. Lucas, you misunderstand me. I don't hate you. His eyes softened, as if he thought I was backing down. I continued, you're just not important enough for that. The room went silent. Someone coughed to hide a laugh. Lucas's face stiffened a little bit. I stepped beside Amelia and looked at the captain. Officer, I suggest checking 3 things. The powder packet, Dr. Hale's phone records, and the payment history of the waiter who claimed the cameras malfunctioned. The waiter's face turned gray. Dr. Hale shouted, this is slander. I looked at him. Then you should be excited to prove me wrong. He immediately stopped shouting. Funny how that worked. Captain Ross nodded to his people. 2 officers moved toward Dr. Hale and the waiter. Lucas's hands slowly clenched at his side. For the first time, I saw true hatred in his eyes. It was not the clean anger of an innocent man. It was the dirty rage of someone watching his perfect trap collapse because one random idiot refused to follow the script. That random idiot was me. I felt strangely proud. Emma suddenly stepped forward. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. Captain, I want to give a statement too. Lucas turned sharply. Emma? She looked at him. Before you collapsed, you told me not to drink from your glass. You said the wine tasted strange. Everyone in the hall froze. Lucas's expression started to crack. Emma's voice trembled. At the time, I thought you were protecting me, but now I don't understand. If you knew the wine tasted strange before you collapsed, why did you keep drinking? And why did you point everyone toward Miss Blackwell? Lucas's lips moved, but no answer came out. For the first time tonight, the gentle hero had been cornered by someone he planned to use. Amelia watched Emma silently. I could guess what she was thinking, even without mind-reading powers. Emma Lane was not stupid. She was just trusting. There was a difference. Lucas lowered his head. When he looked up again, his eyes were wet. Emma, I was afraid, he whispered. I felt dizzy, and I remembered Miss Blackwell looked unhappy with me earlier. I panicked. I didn't mean to hurt her. It was a good recovery. Blame fear. Blame panic. Admit a small mistake to hide the bigger crime. Some guests softened at once. He was scared. That could happen. Maybe this really is a misunderstanding. I sighed inwardly. This was why Lucas was dangerous. Evidence could wound him, but emotion healed him fast. As long as someone wanted to believe he was good, he could crawl back into their sympathy. Amelia heard my thought and looked toward the guests. Then she spoke. Since Mr. Cole says he panicked, we will let the evidence decide. Until then, the Blackwell family will not accept apologies, excuses, or emotional performances. Lucas's eyes darkened that moment. Captain Ross ordered his officers to take Dr. Hale and the waiter aside. The powder, glass, and Lucas's cuff were sealed as evidence. The banquet was clearly over. Guests began leaving in small groups. Emma stood alone near the table, looking shaken. Lucas tried to approach her, but she stepped back. That one step made his expression freeze. The first crack in the harem had appeared and he knew it. Amelia turned to leave and I followed because apparently I had become part of her disaster management team. As we reached the entrance, Lucas's voice came from behind us. Leo. I stopped along with Amelia. Lucas walked toward us slowly. His face had returned to its gentle calm, but his eyes were sharp. He lowered his voice so only we could hear. I don't know what game you're playing, but you should be careful. People who stand too close to Miss Blackwell usually get hurt. I looked at him for a moment, then smiled. Thanks for the warning. But I'm more worried about people who stand too close to you. His smile vanished into thin air. Amelia looked at him coldly. Mr. Cole, if you threaten my witness again, I will make sure your scholarship, your school position, and every sponsor connected to you are reviewed by tomorrow morning. Lucas's face changed. That definitely hit something important. In the novel, Lucas's clean image depended on scholarships, charity programs, and rich sponsors. He looked like a hardworking, poor student rising through kindness and talent. If those sponsors investigated him too early, his mask would start peeling before he had enough power to protect himself. Amelia's eyes moved toward me. Yes, I know. I leaked another thought. She turned back to Lucas. Actually, thank you for reminding me. Lucas froze in that moment. Amelia looked at her assistant. Send a notice tonight. Blackwell Group will review every scholarship and charity project connected to Lucas Cole. The assistant nodded at once. Yes, miss. Lucas's gentle expression finally broke. Miss Blackwell, isn't that too much? Amelia's gaze was calm. You should be happy. Innocent people love investigations. I almost lost control of my expression. She used my line. The villainess was learning sarcasm. This world was becoming dangerous in a whole new way. We walked out of the banquet hall together. Outside, black luxury cars lined the driveway, and camera flashes burst behind the security line. Amelia's driver opened the car door. I naturally prepared to say goodbye and run for my life, but Amelia stopped beside the car and looked at me. "Get in," she said calmly. I blinked. "Me? Do you see another Leo Mondor?" "No, but my family's car is probably nearby. Your family's driver left 20 minutes ago." I stared at her. "Why?" "Your cousin told him you were staying to apologize to Lucas." My face slowly darkened. Ah, Leo Mondor's cousin, Victor Mondor. In the original story, Victor was one of the relatives who helped push Leo into disaster. He smiled at family dinners, called Leo brother in public, and sold him out whenever Lucas needed a stepping stone. I had almost forgotten about him. Amelia opened the car door. "You can stand here and wait for reporters, or you can get in and explain the rest of the plot." I had no choice but to get in. A man had to know when fate was grabbing him by the collar. The car interior smelled faintly of leather and cold perfume. Amelia sat beside me while her assistant took the front passenger seat. The door closed, shutting out the noise. For a moment, silence filled the car. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down and saw a message from Victor Mondor. "Leo, what the heck did you do tonight? Uncle is furious. Come home immediately and apologize to Lucas before this becomes bigger." I stared at the message and laughed softly. Amelia glanced at me. "Problem? My family wants me to apologize to the guy who staged his own poisoning." Amelia replied, "Will you?" "No," I said. Another message came in. This one was from my father, Richard Mondor. "You embarrassed the Mondor family tonight. Return home now." I leaned back against the seat. In the original story, Leo's family never truly listened to him. They were not as evil as Lucas, but they were proud, impatient, and easily manipulated. Whenever Leo caused trouble, they assumed he was wrong before asking a single question. That habit helped destroy him later. Amelia heard the thought and looked out the window. Family can be more dangerous than enemies. There was something in her voice, not sadness, but experience. I remembered what happened to her later. Her uncle, Marcus Blackwell, would betray her, leak company secrets, and help Lucas take control of Blackwell Group. Her parents would be overseas and unreachable during the crisis. By the time they returned, Amelia would already be painted as unstable and cruel. Amelia's fingers tightened around her phone. I winced. "Oh, sorry." She did not look at me. "Do not apologize for information." The car moved through the city lights. After a while, she said, "Tell me the next event." "The next major plot point happens at school tomorrow." Amelia turned toward me. "Lucas will act humble and hurt. Rumors will spread that you use your family's power to bully him even after he forgave you. Emma will be pressured by her friends to support him. Then he will save a girl named Celeste from a staged harassment scene near the East Library." Amelia's expression sharpened. "Celeste Armstrong?" "Yes, daughter of the Armstrong family. Her father controls the biggest entertainment platform in the country. Lucas needs her to enter the media industry." Amelia's eyes grew colder. "And the harassment is fake? Completely staged? The two guys are paid actors. Lucas saves her, she becomes grateful, and later she helps bury every bad story about him." Amelia was silent for a few seconds. Then she smiled faintly. This smile was different from before. It was colder, sharper, and honestly not great for anyone named Lucas. "Then tomorrow," she said, "we save Celeste first." I looked at her. The villainess had adapted way too fast. Instead of panicking about her future death, she was already planning to steal the hero's next plot reward. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from an unknown number. "Young Master Mondore, you ruined something that did not concern you. Stay away from Lucas Cole, or the warehouse fire will happen much earlier than scheduled." My blood went cold. The warehouse fire. The way Leo Mondor was supposed to die. I slowly looked up at Amelia. She had heard my thought. Her face turned icy. Without a word, she took the phone from my hand and read the message. For the first time since I met her, Amelia Blackwell's calm expression filled with killing intent. "Driver," she said softly, "change route." The assistant turned around. "Miss?" Amelia's eyes stayed on the threatening message. "We are not going to the Mondor estate." The city lights flashed across her face as she looked at me. "We are going to find out who wants you dead." I told her, "Trust me, it's fine. We must save Celeste first." She hesitated and said, "Fine." But then, another unknown number sent a message. For a second, I did not want to open it, but eventually I did. The message was short. "You saved yourself? Cute. Let's see if you can save Celeste Armstrong at East Library tonight." My blood went cold again. Amelia read the message from my thoughts before I could speak. Her eyes sharpened and said, "So Lucas moved the next plot forward. In the original story, Celeste Armstrong's staged rescue was supposed to happen tomorrow at school. Lucas must have realized that after tonight, he needed a new source of support immediately." Amelia looked at the messages for a long moment, then handed the phone to her assistant in the front seat. "Trace the number," she said. The assistant, a sharp-looking woman named Elise, nodded once. "Already started, miss." I looked at her. "You can do that while sitting in a car?" Elise glanced back at me politely. "The Blackwell family does not pay me to stare out windows." I shut my mouth and thought, "That's fair." Amelia leaned back against the seat, her expression calm again, but the air around her had changed. Amelia then changed our destination to the East Library. The car entered the university through a side gate. The campus was quiet at night, with street lamps glowing over clean paths and sleeping buildings. We got out near the East Library. The building rose ahead of us, tall and white, with dark windows reflecting the moon. Behind it was a garden path lined with trees. A girl's frightened voice suddenly rang through the night. "Let go of me." We ran. Amelia moved faster than I expected and heeled, which was honestly unfair. Even her emergency sprint looked elegant. We reached the garden path and saw Celeste Armstrong backed against a stone wall, clutching her bag to her chest. Two men in black hoodies blocked her way, and deeper in the shadows, half hidden behind a tree, stood Lucas Cole. He was waiting for the perfect moment to rush out, waiting to become her hero. Celeste was trembling, completely unaware that her savior and her attackers were part of the same play. I took one step forward, but Amelia caught my wrist. Her fingers were cold. "Wait," she whispered. I looked at her in shock. She stared at Lucas's shadow, then at Celeste. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were terrifyingly clear. "If we simply stop this, Lucas will pretend he was also trying to help." My mind caught up with hers, and a slow smile spread across my face. Amelia Blackwell was not planning to save Celeste from the scene. She was planning to show Celeste the script, and this time the hero had no idea the audience had arrived early. One of the two men grabbed Celeste's wrist and lowered his voice. "Miss Armstrong, just cooperate with us, and nobody has to get hurt tonight." That line was so fake. My soul nearly left my body again. Amelia whispered, "If he saves her now, she will believe him forever." I whispered back, "If we expose him badly enough, she will never believe him again." Amelia glanced at me, and the faintest hint of approval crossed her face. Good. You are learning how to think like a villain. Elise appeared from the side path like she had teleported through the bushes. She held up her tablet and whispered, campus security cameras are accessible. The East Garden camera was disabled 7 minutes ago. I sighed quietly. Why does every scheme in this city begin with someone disabling a camera? Amelia's lips curved slightly. Because foolish people think darkness belongs only to them. Elise tapped the tablet. I can route footage from the library entrance camera. It catches part of the garden path and Lucas's hiding spot, but not Celeste's corner. Amelia nodded. Send it to Celeste Armstrong's phone. Elise paused for half a second. Directly? Directly, Amelia said. She needs to see the stage before the actor enters. I looked at Amelia and felt genuine animation rise in my chest. She did not just want to stop Lucas. She wanted his future victim to understand how the trap worked. That was much better than saving someone who would later insist the snake was only misunderstood. Amelia looked at me without turning her head. Your thoughts are unusually flattering right now. I immediately stared at the trees. I am having a rare moment of good judgment. Elise worked fast. A second later, Celeste's phone buzzed loudly from inside her bag. The sound startled everyone on the path, including the two fake attackers. One of the men hissed, "Ignore it." Celeste's eyes flicked down to her bag. My family tracks my location. If I do not answer, they will send people. That was a lie, but it was a very useful lie. Celeste Armstrong might have been innocent in the novel, but she was not stupid. The man hesitated. The other hooded man looked toward the tree line, clearly waiting for instruction. Lucas remained hidden, but his fingers moved across his phone. The hooded man's phone vibrated almost immediately. He checked the screen, then forced a rough laugh. Fine, answer it, but no tricks. Celeste carefully pulled out her phone. Her face changed when she saw the video Elise had sent. The screen showed Lucas standing behind the tree, watching the scene instead of calling for help. Her eyes widened slowly. She did not scream. She did not move. She simply stared at the screen while her breathing became shallow. I could almost hear the moment her trust cracked. Lucas still had no idea. He was too busy preparing his hero pose. One hooded man leaned closer. What are you looking at? Celeste locked the phone and held it against her chest. Her voice shook, but she managed to sound frightened enough to keep the act alive. It was just my brother asking where I am. The man stepped back, satisfied. Lucas moved slightly behind the tree. He probably thought this was his cue. I felt Amelia's fingers loosen from my wrist. Now, she whispered. Before I could ask what she meant, Elise tapped her tablet again. The library courtyard speakers suddenly crackled to life. Lucas's voice played through the quiet garden. Do not hurt her too badly. She only needs to be scared enough to trust me. The two hooded men froze. Celeste froze with the phone in her hand. Lucas froze hardest of all. For one beautiful second, nobody moved. Then Celeste slowly turned toward the tree. Lucas, she said, her voice so soft it was almost painful. Lucas stepped out from behind the tree with a face that looked like his soul had been slapped. His eyes were wide, his lips were parted, and all that gentle hero confidence had vanished like cheap perfume in the rain. Celeste, he said quickly, listen to me. That was edited. I stepped out from the shadows and smiled at him. You really love that excuse. Earlier it was planted evidence. Now it is edited audio. At this rate, by tomorrow you will blame the moon. Lucas's face darkened the moment he saw me. Leo Mondor. Amelia walked out beside me, calm and elegant, as if we had been invited to a garden tea party instead of a staged kidnapping. The two hooded men immediately lost the little courage they had left. One of them whispered, Blackwell. Amelia looked at them. Neil explained, and you might still leave this campus without broken futures. The taller man dropped to his knees so fast his bones probably filed a complaint. The second man followed half a second later. Lucas clenched his fists. Miss Blackwell, I do not know what Leo told you, but this is a misunderstanding. Amelia tilted her head slightly. Then you will not mind if they explain the misunderstanding. The taller man looked at Lucas with panic in his eyes. Mr. Cole, you said nobody important would come. Lucas's expression twisted. I have never met you before. The man looked so betrayed that I almost laughed. Imagine being hired for a fake crime and still expecting workplace loyalty. Celeste stared at Lucas as if she was seeing a stranger wearing a familiar face. Her voice trembled. You arranged this? Lucas immediately softened his expression. His eyes reddened with impressive speed. Celeste, no. I came because I heard someone might target you. I was trying to protect you from the shadows. That sentence was so shameless, my ears nearly rejected it. I stepped closer and pointed toward the garden speakers. Protect her from the shadows? Brother, you were the shadow. Amelia glanced at me. That was almost clever. Almost is still progress, I muttered. Celeste took a step back from Lucas. If you were protecting me, why did you not call campus security? Lucas looked wounded. I was afraid they would be too late. Then why did you wait? She asked. They already grabbed me. I was scared. You stood there and watched. The question hit harder because it was simple. Lucas's mouth opened, but no answer came out. His gentle mask was cracking in real time, and Celeste was close enough to see every ugly line underneath. Elise walked forward and handed Celeste the tablet. Miss Armstrong, this contains the campus entrance footage, the audio file, and a payment trail connecting one of the attackers to an account used by Mr. Cole's associate. Celeste's fingers trembled as she accepted it. Why would he do this to me? Nobody spoke for a moment. I knew the answer from the novel. Celeste Armstrong's family owned the largest student media platform in the country. One article from them could bury a scandal or crown a saint. Lucas needed her gratitude because gratitude was easier to control than respect. Amelia heard the thought and answered for me. Because your family controls public opinion among universities. He wanted your trust before his reputation collapsed. Celeste looked at Lucas, and the hurt in her eyes slowly turned into disgust. So I was useful. Lucas stepped toward her. No, Celeste, you're misunderstanding everything. They are manipulating you because they hate me. Celeste flinched away from his hand. That tiny movement did more damage than any slap could have. Lucas noticed it too. His face paled. Before he could speak again, bright headlights swept across the garden path. 3 black cars stopped near the library entrance, and several men in gray suits rushed over. At the front was an older man with silver hair and a furious expression. Celeste whispered the single word like a lifeline. Dad. Chairman Armstrong arrived like a storm in polished shoes. His voice was dangerously low. Who touched my daughter? The two hooded men almost melted into the pavement. Celeste ran to her father. Dad, I am okay. Chairman Armstrong held her shoulders and checked her face carefully. Only after confirming she was unharmed did he look at Lucas. Lucas immediately lowered his head, returning to his soft victim voice. Chairman Armstrong, I am sorry. I tried to save Celeste, but young Master Mondor and Miss Blackwell misunderstood the situation. I stared at him in disbelief. Even after being exposed, he still tried to steal credit. This man's skin was thicker than a bank vault. Amelia did not waste words. She nodded at Elise. Elise played the audio again. Lucas's own voice filled the garden, clear enough for Chairman Armstrong's expression to turn from angry to murderous. Do not hurt her too badly. She only needs to be scared enough to trust me. Chairman Armstrong slowly turned toward Lucas. Was that your voice? Lucas's lips trembled. It was fabricated. Chairman Armstrong looked at the kneeling attackers. Who hired you? The shorter man broke instantly. Lucas Cole's people contacted us. We were told to scare Ms. Armstrong, then run when he appeared. We were not supposed to really hurt her. Lucas shouted with panic burning through his voice. You liar. Chairman Armstrong raised one hand and his bodyguards moved. They seized the attackers before they could crawl away, then blocked Lucas from leaving. Lucas looked around quickly. His eyes landed on me. Leo, why are you doing this? I never wanted to fight you. I walked closer, keeping my voice calm. That is the problem, Lucas. You never call it fighting when you are the one setting the trap. His eyes reddened again. You have everything already. Money, family, status. Why do you keep targeting someone like me? There it was again, his favorite weapon. Turn every accusation into class warfare. Make himself the poor victim and make everyone else look cruel for questioning him. In the original novel, that trick worked almost every time. Tonight, Celeste had already seen the script. She stepped out from behind her father and looked at Lucas with tears in her eyes. You used my kindness because you thought I would pity you. Lucas's face changed. Celeste, I never thought that. Yes, you did, she said. Her voice was still shaking, but it grew stronger with every word. You thought I would protect you because you looked gentle and kind. Lucas fell silent because there was no gentle lie left to use. Chairman Armstrong looked at his daughter with surprise, then with pride. Celeste, what do you want done? That question changed the air. In the original story, Celeste had been rescued by Lucas and spent the next year defending him. Celeste wiped her tears and looked at the tablet in her hands. Send everything to the police. Then release a statement before he can twist the story. Chairman Armstrong nodded once. Done. Lucas's face finally showed real fear. Chairman Armstrong, please think carefully. If this becomes public, the university will be dragged into scandal. Chairman Armstrong's voice turned icy. You staged an attack on my daughter, and you were worried about the university's image? Lucas looked at Celeste again. Celeste, please. You know me. Celeste took a slow breath. I thought I did. Those 4 words seemed to hit him harder than the evidence. I watched Lucas's face and felt the story shift beneath my feet. First Amelia, then Emma, and now Celeste. 3 women who were supposed to become his stepping stones had started seeing the cracks. That should have felt like victory. Instead, a warning bell rang in my mind. Lucas's plot armor had been damaged but not destroyed. A corner hero was more dangerous than a confident one, especially when the world itself seemed desperate to keep him on top. Amelia's gaze slid toward me. You are worried. I nodded. He is losing too quickly. Celeste's father looked at us. What does that mean? Before I could answer, Lucas suddenly laughed. It was quiet at first, almost breathless. Then it grew louder, strange enough that even his own face looked unfamiliar. The gentle scholarship student disappeared, and something colder stared out from behind his eyes. You people really are the same, Lucas said softly. Born above everyone, protected by everyone, and still acting like victims when someone tries to climb. Chairman Armstrong narrowed his eyes. Careful, boy. Lucas smiled, but there was nothing kind left in it. Careful? I have been careful my entire life. I smiled, bowed, apologized, and played grateful while people like you decided whether I deserved crumbs from your table. Celeste stared at him. So you hurt people because you felt poor? His eyes snapped toward her. I created chances. That is what your families do every day. You call it strategy when rich people manipulate others. When I do it, suddenly, it is a crime. I felt my stomach sink. This was not an apology. This was a confession wrapped in resentment. The bodyguards stepped closer, but Lucas lifted his phone. I would not come closer if I were you. Amelia's eyes sharpened. What did you do? Lucas looked at her, then at me, and his smile became uglier. You keep ruining my scenes, Leo. So I prepared one you cannot interrupt. My phone buzzed at the exact same time as Amelia's. Then Celeste's father's phone buzzed. Then every phone around us began buzzing one after another. A breaking news alert flashed across my screen. Mondor heir Leo Mondor accused of staging attacks to frame scholarship student Lucas Cole. Anonymous evidence suggests Blackwell and Armstrong families involved in cover-up. For a moment, the garden went completely silent. Then my phone refreshed with another awful notification. A video began playing automatically. It showed me stepping out of the shadows near Celeste's attack scene. It showed Amelia standing beside me. It showed the attackers kneeling, but the audio had been twisted. In the edited version, it sounded like I was ordering them to blame Lucas. My blood turned cold as the edited video loaded. Lucas had planned a backup frame. If the stage rescue succeeded, he gained Celeste. If it failed, he made it look like I staged the whole thing to destroy him. Chairman Armstrong's face hardened as he watched the video. Celeste shook her head quickly. Dad, that is not what happened. I know, he said, but his expression stayed grim. The problem is that millions of people will see this before they see the truth. Lucas slipped his phone into his pocket. Public opinion moves faster than facts. Amelia's voice was cold enough to freeze the path beneath us. You think edited gossip can save you? Lucas looked at her and smiled. No, Miss Blackwell, I think it can delay you. My heart dropped because I understood the trick. I searched my memory of the novel, flipping through future plot lines like a panicked student before an exam. Lucas always used one scandal to cover another. If everyone was focused on a public opinion war, he would move somewhere else. Then I remembered the next piece of the original plot. The next target had to be Emma Lane. After the stage rescue arc, Lucas's next major move involved the hospital network owned by Emma's family. He needed fake medical records, emergency access, and a clean charity image. If he was desperate, he would go after that resource tonight. Amelia heard the thought immediately. Her face changed. Emma is in danger. Lucas's smile froze before he could hide the reaction. That tiny reaction told us everything. I stepped toward him. You already sent someone to the Lane private hospital. Lucas's eyes darkened. You know too much. Chairman Armstrong signaled his men to grab him. but Lucas suddenly stepped backward into the trees. A small smoke canister hit the ground, filling the path with thick white smoke. The bodyguards rushed forward, but Lucas had already planned his escape route thanks to plot armor. By the time the smoke cleared, he was gone. Amelia turned to Elise. Find him. Elise was already typing. His phone signal split into 3 decoys. I looked toward the campus road. Forget Lucas. We need to get to Emma. Celeste stepped forward. I am coming too. Chairman Armstrong immediately said, absolutely not. Celeste looked at him with red eyes but a firm voice. He used me tonight. I am out hiding while he uses another girl. Her father looked like he wanted to argue, but he stopped. Amelia looked at Celeste for a moment, then nodded. Stay close and follow instructions. Celeste nodded quickly and moved closer to Amelia. We ran toward the cars while the fake scandal spread across the city like poison in water. My phone kept buzzing with messages from classmates, strangers, and news accounts. The internet had already started calling me jealous, cruel, and obsessed with destroying a poor student. In the original story, Leo Mondor had always lost because he fought alone while Lucas controlled the stage. Tonight, I was not alone. Amelia got into the car beside me, her face calm but her eyes burning. Celeste climbed in after us, still clutching Elise's tablet like a weapon. Chairman Armstrong's cars followed behind. The driver slammed the accelerator, and the university disappeared behind us. Elise turned from the front seat. Emma Lane is currently at Lane Private Hospital. Her father is in surgery after a sudden cardiac incident. My chest tightened. That was not supposed to happen tonight. Amelia looked at me. What does Lucas need there? I stared at the city lights rushing past the window as the next piece of the novel rearranged itself in my mind. He needs Emma desperate enough to trust him again. If her father's surgery goes wrong, Lucas will appear with a miracle doctor who can save him. Celeste's face went pale. But if Lucas arranged the crisis, I finished the thought for her, then the miracle doctor might be the same person who caused it. The car fell silent as everyone understood the implication. Then Amelia reached over and took my phone from my hand. She opened the viral article, watched the edited video once, and closed it without a word. I looked at her. You are very calm for someone being accused of a cover-up. She looked out the window. Public opinion is only dangerous when you let it choose the battlefield. Not going to lie, that sounded cool. But the danger ahead refused to let me relax. My phone buzzed again in Amelia's hand. She looked down, and her expression turned colder. She handed it to me. The new message had no number attached. Choose carefully, Leo. Save Emma's father, or clear your name. You will not have time for both. I stared at the words until they blurred. Lucas had finally stopped pretending to be gentle, and the real game had just begun. Celeste leaned forward from the back seat to the message on my phone. What does that mean? Why would saving Emma's father stop you from clearing your name? Amelia replied to her. Because he plans to make Leo move in a way that looks guilty. That was exactly it. And the worst part was Lucas understood public opinion better than most rich heirs understood their own bank cards. In the original novel, Emma Lane did not fall for Lucas because he was handsome. Emma fell for Lucas because he saved her father during a surgical crisis that no one else could solve. At the time, readers praised him as a genius with a heart of gold. After seeing tonight's fake poisoning, I was starting to suspect that every miracle Lucas performed had a receipt hidden under the table. Amelia looked at me quietly. You know the hospital scene. I wanted to say no, but lying to a woman who could hear my thoughts was not going to work. In the story I know, Emma's father almost dies tonight. Lucas brings in a famous surgeon named Dr. Rowan Pierce, who saves him at the last second. Celeste gripped the tablet tighter. That sounds good though. If the doctor saves him, then why are we rushing there? I looked at her reflection in the window. Because Dr. Pierce is not the miracle. He's the cleanup crew. Amelia's expression sharpened immediately. Explain everything you remember. I closed my eyes and searched through the messy pile of novel memories in my head. Emma's father is Chairman Gideon Lane. He has a heart condition, but it should be stable for at least another year. Tonight, he suddenly collapses during a private board dinner, and the hospital announces an emergency surgery. The first team struggles, then Lucas appears with Dr. Pierce. Pierce performs a risky procedure, saves Gideon, and Emma's family owes Lucas a life debt. Celeste's voice trembled. So Lucas might have caused Chairman Lane's condition to get worse, then brought the person who knows how to reverse it? Not might, Amelia said quietly. He did. Her certainty made everyone silent, and I knew she had heard the thought I did not want to say out loud. In the novel, Lucas never rescued people from random disasters. He created fires, then sold himself as rain. My phone buzzed again, but this time it was not Lucas. It was my older sister, Vivian Mondor, and the caller ID alone made my stomach tighten. Vivian did not call unless something had exploded, and considering my name was currently being roasted online like cheap meat at a street stall, I had a decent guess. I answered the call. Before you scold me, I would like to say that at least nobody died yet. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Vivian's icy voice came through. Yet, that was not my best opening at all. Amelia glanced at me, and I could tell she was trying very hard not to smile. That was unfair. If she kept hearing my panic, the least she could do was not enjoy it. Vivian spoke again. Leo, the internet says you attacked a scholarship student, threatened a doctor, colluded with the Blackwell family, and ran away from reporters. I rubbed my forehead and said, the footage is fake and edited. Vivian's tone changed slightly. You know who edited the video? I know enough to say Lucas Cole is not the victim. He is building a trap at Lane Private Hospital right now. The silence after that was not empty. It was the sound of my sister rapidly reorganizing her entire opinion of me. Finally, Vivian said, you are with Amelia Blackwell, aren't you? I looked at Amelia and she looked back calmly. Yes, I said carefully. She's currently helping me not die. Vivian exhaled slowly. That is the first sensible thing you have done this year. Amelia lowered her gaze, and the corner of her mouth moved by a fraction. She had heard that too. Vivian continued, I will send Caleb to the hospital with legal authorization. Do not touch any medical equipment. Do not assault anyone. Do not give reporters a soundbite that begins with the phrase, listen here. Peasants. You have done that before. I cough awkwardly. That was not me spiritually. Vivian paused. I do not know what that means, and I am choosing to ignore it until the family survives tonight. She ended the call before I could explain, which was probably wise because my explanation would have sounded like a fever dream written by a bored ghost. Elise suddenly lifted her head. We have a problem. Lane Private Hospital just switched its emergency wing security to a private protocol. Visitor access is blocked unless approved by the acting medical director. Amelia said, who is the acting medical director tonight? Elise looked grim. Dr. Rowan Pierce. Celeste whispered, he's already there. The driver turned hard into the hospital district. As our car slowed near the main entrance, my phone buzzed again with another unknown message. You are late, Leo. Emma is already crying. Amelia read it over my shoulder and her expression became frighteningly calm. He wants you angry. He is succeeding a little, I admitted. Then use that anger carefully, she said. A blade waved around wildly, only cuts the hand holding it. I looked at her for a second. Do you always speak like a final boss giving advice before battle? Amelia stared at me. Do you always think like a clown walking into danger? I wanted to deny it, but I wisely kept my mouth shut. The car stopped outside the emergency wing. Chairman Armstrong's vehicle pulled in behind us, and several Blackwell bodyguards stepped out first. Celeste followed Amelia closely, trying to look brave even though her hands were still shaking. The moment we entered, a wall of security guards blocked the corridor. The lead guard bowed slightly to Amelia, but his body did not move aside. Miss Blackwell, I apologize. Emergency wing access is restricted by order of the acting medical director. Amelia did not even blink. Move. The guard swallowed. I cannot. This man had courage. Very stupid courage, but courage all the same. I stepped beside Amelia and looked at the badge on his chest. Your name is Martin Cole. His face changed. Yes, sir. I smiled. Any relation to Lucas Cole? The guard stiffened. He is my cousin. The bodyguards behind Amelia moved closer. I almost laughed because Lucas's operation had the same problem as every overconfident schemer. He kept using people with names attached to him. At this point, you might as well leave business cards at the crime scene. Amelia heard my thought and said calmly, Elise, record everything. Elise lifted her phone immediately. I looked at Martin. Your cousin is currently involved in a public fraud scandal at the Blackwell banquet. Now you are blocking the daughter of the hospital's largest pharmaceutical partner from entering an emergency wing where another suspicious incident is happening. Are you sure you want your name on this scene? Martin's jaw tightened. I am following orders. Great, I said. Then say the full order on camera. Tell us Dr. Rowan Pierce ordered you to block Amelia Blackwell, Leo Mondor, and Chairman Armstrong from entering while Chairman Gideon Lane is in emergency surgery. Martin's eyes flicked toward the phone camera. Before he could answer, a cold female voice rang from the corridor behind him. Let them pass. Everyone in the corridor turned toward us. Emma Lane stood near the glass doors with eyes red from crying. She looked fragile enough to break if someone spoke too loudly, but her gaze was fixed on Lucas, who stood beside her with one hand gently supporting her shoulder. Lucas looked tired, worried, and noble again. If I had not watched him crawl out of his snake skin 10 minutes ago, I might have believed it. Emma stared at me with a complicated expression. Leo, why are you here? I glanced at Lucas's hand on her shoulder. To make sure your father is treated by doctors, not stage magicians. Lucas sighed softly, as if I had personally disappointed him as a fellow human being. Leo, I understand you dislike me, but this is not the time. Chairman Lane is fighting for his life. Emma's eyes filled with pain. Please do not fight here. Amelia stepped forward. Emma, who approved Dr. Rowan Pierce to take over the surgery. Emma looked confused. Dr. Pierce came with Lucas. He said my father's condition is rare, and Dr. Pierce is the only one nearby who can handle it. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course he said that. Amelia looked at Lucas. How did you know Chairman Lane would need Dr. Pierce tonight? Lucas's expression did not change. Dr. Pierce has been advising the Lane family quietly for months. I only contacted him because Emma needed help. Emma nodded quickly. Lucas called him for me. Without him, I do not know what would have happened. I looked at her and softened my voice. Emma, I know you are scared. I know Lucas looks like the person helping you right now, but please ask yourself one thing. How did your father suddenly get worse on the exact same night Lucas needed you to trust him again? Her face turned white in an instant. Lucas's eyes sharpened, but his voice remained wounded. Leo, that is cruel even for you. No, cruel is using a woman's dying father as a stage prop. Emma flinched. Stop saying that. I nodded slowly. Fine. Then prove me wrong. Let Amelia's medical team review the surgical data in real time. Let the hospital board confirm Dr. Pierce's authority. Let us test the medication your father received before he collapsed. Lucas gave a sad smile. You make everything sound like a conspiracy because you cannot accept that someone poor might be better than you. There it was, the holy shield of the male lead. Whenever he was cornered, he dragged class into the room and turned every question into bullying. I felt Amelia's hand brush lightly against my sleeve. It was not comfort exactly, more like a warning to keep my temper behind its fence. Before I could speak, footsteps came from the entrance behind us. My brother Caleb Mondor walked in. Behind him came 2 lawyers, 3 medical consultants, and my sister Vivian, who looked so elegant and furious that several guards automatically stepped aside. Vivian's gaze swept over me first. You are alive. I nodded with a weak smile. Barely, at least emotionally. Caleb smiled. That sounds like growth. Vivian ignored both of us and looked at Emma. Miss Lane, I am Vivian Mondor. Your father signed a standing emergency oversight agreement with Mondor Legal Medical Services last year after his first cardiac incident. Emma looked stunned. My father signed that? Caleb handed her a document. He did. He also wrote a note saying that if anyone ever tried to pressure you during a medical crisis, you should call our family lawyer before signing anything. Emma took the document with trembling hands. Lucas's expression finally darkened in a way he could not fully hide. This is unnecessary. The surgery is already underway. Delaying review could risk Chairman Lane's life. Caleb looked at him pleasantly. Reviewing data does not delay surgery, unless of course the data is embarrassing. I liked my brother immediately. If Vivian was a knife hidden in silk, Caleb was a smiling bear trap. Amelia glanced at me, and I knew she had heard that thought too. Her mouth twitched slightly. Emma looked between Lucas and Caleb, her breathing uneven. I just want my father safe. Then approve the review? Amelia said gently, and for once her voice did not sound cold. If Dr. Pierce is truly saving him, the data will prove it. Emma gripped the paper hard, then nodded. I approve. Lucas said quickly, Emma, wait. You are upset right now. You should not sign anything while panicking. She looked at him, and for the first time, doubt truly entered her eyes. But you asked me to approve Dr. Pierce 10 minutes after my father collapsed. Lucas froze where he was standing. That sentence hit harder than a slap. Vivian immediately placed a pen in Emma's hand. Sign here. Emma signed the document with shaking fingers. The moment the ink touched the page, Caleb's medical consultants moved toward the nurse's station. Martin Cole tried to block them again, but Chairman Armstrong stepped forward with his own guards. Chairman Armstrong's voice was low and heavy. Move or explain to the city why you stopped an emergency medical review. Martin moved aside without another word. Lucas watched the review team enter the secure corridor, and his face became calm again. That worried me more than anger. It meant he had another layer prepared. My phone buzzed once more. You think checking records will save him? Cute. I showed the message to Amelia. Her eyes narrowed. He is too confident. I searched my memories again. The original scene had been written like a miracle, but there had been a strange detail that readers argued about in the comments. Dr. Pierce did not save Chairman Lane through surgery alone. He used an imported emergency drug that had not been approved domestically yet. At the time, it looked like Lucas was resourceful. Now it looked like a loaded gun with a medical label. I turned to Caleb. Check the emergency medication inventory. Look for imported cardiac stabilizers not listed in the hospital system. Caleb's smile faded slightly. That is specific. Vivian stared at me. Too specific. Amelia answered before I could invent something stupid. Leo has good instincts tonight. Follow them. Vivian looked at Amelia, then at me, then back at Amelia. Caleb sent the instruction through his earpiece. Less than a minute later, one of the consultants called back. His voice came through Caleb's phone speaker. We found an unlabeled refrigerated vial logged under Dr. Pierce's personal authorization. It is not in the hospital procurement system. Emma covered her mouth with trembling fingers. Lucas said softly, experimental drugs are sometimes necessary in extreme cases. I looked at him. Funny, because nobody mentioned experimental drugs to Emma. Lucas met my eyes. If it saves her father, does that matter? For 1 second, the mask slipped in front of everyone. That sentence was not gentle. It was arrogant. It was the voice of someone who believed the ending justified anything, especially when someone else paid the price. Emma stepped away from him. Lucas noticed immediately and softened his expression. Emma, I only meant that your father's life matters most. Before she could answer, the emergency corridor doors opened. A tall doctor in surgical scrubs stepped out, removing one glove with controlled annoyance. Dr. Rowan Pierce had arrived on stage. He looked at the crowd, then at Caleb's team, and finally at Emma. Who authorized these people to interfere with my surgery? Emma's voice shook, but she lifted her chin. I did. Dr. Pierce's eyes cooled. Miss Lane, emotional decisions can kill patients. Amelia stepped beside Emma, so can unapproved drugs. Pierce looked at her. Miss Blackwell, I did not realize pharmaceutical heiresses now practice medicine in even gowns. Amelia did not blink. I did not realize disgraced surgeons now practice miracles through private back doors. The entire corridor went completely silent. Dr. Pierce's face tightened with anger. I nearly applauded in my head, but stopped myself because Amelia would hear it and probably judge my mental clapping technique. Too late. Her eyes flicked toward me for half a second. Caleb stepped forward, holding his phone. Dr. Pierce, the Lane heir has approved external review. Please provide the full medication record for the imported drug found under your authorization. Pierce removed his other glove slowly. Chairman Lane is unstable. If you delay me, he may die. That is why you should hurry with the documents, Caleb said politely. Lucas stepped forward, his voice filled with restrained pain. This is madness. Leo, Amelia, are you really willing to gamble Chairman Lane's life just to attack me? That line was aimed at the audience, not us. The nurses, the guards, and the family staff. It was a clean story. Too bad clean stories rarely survive contact with Amelia Blackwell. She looked at Elise. Play the audio. Elise connected her tablet to a nearby wall screen without asking anyone. A recording opened. For a second, the screen showed the garden from earlier, then Lucas's voice filled the corridor. If Leo wants to protect Amelia, then Emma's father becomes useful tonight. Emma looked like she stopped breathing. Lucas's face went blank for 1 second. The audio continued. Make sure Dr. Pierce is ready. If Gideon Lane survives because of me, Emma will never question me again. Dr. Pierce stared at Lucas. You recorded that? Lucas did not answer him at all. Emma looked at him as if she had never seen him before. You said my father became useful? Lucas used his usual excuse of it being fake. But then the operating room alarm screamed. A nurse burst through the doors. Dr. Pierce, Chairman Lane's pressure is crashing. Emma's face emptied of color. Dad. Dr. Pierce turned immediately. Everyone out of my way. Caleb blocked him. Not until the drug is identified. Pierce snapped. If I do not go in now, he dies. Every eye turned toward Emma. This was Lucas's final trap. Even exposed, even cornered, he had placed them in a situation where stopping his doctor made us look like murderers. If Chairman Lane died while we argued, the truth would not matter. Emma would hate us forever, and Lucas would twist the grief into a weapon. Emma started crying. Please save him. Amelia looked at me, and I felt the weight of her trust before she said anything. My mind raced through the novel's scene again. Dr. Pierce saved Gideon by using the imported drug, but the drug had a second effect. 3 months later, Gideon's body weakened, allowing Lucas to manipulate Lane Medical from the inside. If we let Pierce continue, Gideon lived tonight but became Lucas's puppet later. If we stopped him without an alternative, Gideon might die now. There had to be another way. Then I remembered one tiny detail from a side chapter. Emma's father had once funded a rival research team after rejecting Pierce's drug trial. That team developed a safer stabilizer, but Lucas buried it by somehow buying the supplier. I grabbed Elise's tablet, searched for Professor Helena Sato. Elise moved instantly, her fingers flying. Found her. She is retired, lives 20 minutes away, and her research license is inactive. Does the hospital have her drug? I asked. Elise scanned the file. Not under that name. Wait, there is a generic compound stored in research freezer B, but it was marked obsolete. Dr. Pierce's face changed at once. That small reaction was more than enough. I pointed at him. He knows it works. Pierce shouted. That compound is unstable and outdated. Caleb's consultant spoke through the phone. Actually, Professor Sato's compound was discontinued for commercial reasons, not safety reasons. It appears safer than the imported drug in patients with Chairman Lane's profile. Emma turned to Dr. Pierce with tears running down her face. You knew there was another option. Pierce glared at me with real hatred now. You have no idea what you are interfering with. Lucas moved suddenly toward Emma again. He grabbed Emma's wrist and pulled her toward him, lowering his voice but not enough. Emma, listen to me. They are confusing you. Your father will die if you trust them. Emma tried to pull away. Let go. He tightened his grip. I am the only one trying to save him. Amelia stepped forward and caught Lucas's wrist. She did not twist hard, but Lucas's face still went pale from pain. Her voice was quiet and sharp. Release her. Lucas stared at her, and for the first time, his hatred fully surfaced. You should have stayed in your villain role, Amelia. The words hit the air strangely. My blood went cold inside my chest. Amelia froze beside me without speaking. Lucas realized his mistake 1 second too late. He should not have said role. Not in front of me. Not in front of Amelia. Not when she could hear my thoughts and knew this world followed a book. I looked at him slowly. What did you just say? Lucas's expression shifted back into confusion. I said she should stop acting like a villain. No, Amelia said, her voice colder than ever. You said villain role. The alarm screamed again from the operating room, cutting through the moment. Vivian snapped. We can discuss his suspicious vocabulary after Chairman Lane survived. Fair point. Terrifying, but fair. Caleb took command immediately. Emma, as legal heir, you must choose the treatment path. Emma looked through the glass doors toward the operating room. Her shoulders shook, but her eyes slowly cleared. She signed the emergency consent Caleb placed before her. Use Professor Sato's compound. Dr. Pierce tried to lunge forward, but Chairman Armstrong's guards seized him before he got 3 steps. Pierce shouted, you idiots are killing him. The hospital's original surgical team rushed back inside, with Caleb's consultants guiding them through the records. The doors closed, leaving Emma standing in the corridor with bloodless lips and trembling hands. Lucas took 1 step toward her. Emma, I am sorry they forced you into this. Emma slapped him across the face. The sound echoed down the corridor. Lucas's head turned to the side. Everyone froze, including me, because sweet Emma Lane had finally located her missing spine and used it with excellent form. Her voice broke, but every word was clear. Do not say my name again. Lucas slowly touched his cheek. His eyes darkened with something ugly, but he forced it back down when he remembered the cameras. Amelia looked at Elise. Make sure that slap is not edited out of tonight's record. Elise nodded. Already backed up in 3 places. I almost told Amelia that was extremely attractive behavior, then remembered she could hear me and immediately started mentally reciting the multiplication table. Amelia gave me a sideways look. 7 times 8 is 56. I nearly choked on my own breath. This woman was going to be the death of me, assuming Lucas did not beat her to it. Minutes crawled by slowly. Emma stood by the doors. Celeste stayed beside her without speaking, while Amelia watched Lucas like a hawk watching a snake wearing a ribbon. Finally, the operating room doors opened again. The lead surgeon stepped out, mask lowered, face tired but relieved. Chairman Lane's pressure has stabilized. The emergency compound worked. He is not out of danger yet, but the immediate crisis has passed. Emma covered her face and sobbed. Celeste hugged her carefully, and Emma did not pull away. For a moment, the corridor softened. Even Vivian's expression eased. Chairman Armstrong let out a huge breath. Then Dr. Pierce laughed under his breath. It was not loud. It was worse than loud. It was calm, bitter, and completely wrong for a man whose scheme had just collapsed. He looked at Lucas. You promised the route would stay fixed. Lucas's face changed. Shut up. Pierce laughed again. No, I do not think I will. If I am falling, I am not falling alone. Caleb's eyes brightened slightly, which was never a comforting sight for the person he was looking at. Dr. Pierce, would you like legal counsel before continuing? Pierce ignored him and stared at me instead. You are the disturbance. The route corrected itself for years. Then you appeared and everything started breaking. The corridor became silent again. My heartbeat slowed in pure dread. The word root echoed inside my head. The word fixed followed right after it. The word corrected made my stomach drop. Those were not normal words. Amelia stepped closer to me, her arm almost touching mine. Her thoughts were silent to me, but her expression told me she had understood the same thing. Lucas was not the only one who knew this world had a script. Dr. Pierce smiled at my face. You do not even know what he is, do you? Lucas shouted, enough, with sudden panic, but Pierce's smile only widened further. He is not the hero because he is kind. He is the hero because the world keeps choosing him. A cold feeling slid down my spine, and in my head, a mechanical voice suddenly rang out for the first time since I transmigrated. Unauthorized route damage detected. Hero protection protocol activated. Amelia's face turned pale beside me. She had heard it too.